So another thing that struck me as I was watching episode 1 of Shiny Happy People was that kids in the IBLP are taught that they're supposed to obey the spoken and unspoken wishes of their authority figures. Now, this is, first of all, terrible communication. I mean, I know so many marriages where part of the reason there was so much conflict was this expectation that the spouse would be able to magically understand what the other person wants and needs without the other person expressing it. But this kind of an expectation sets people up for abuse, because if I happen to get it wrong, if I guess wrong about the thoughts and wishes of my authority figure, it gives them permission to punish me, to do whatever it is that they think is appropriate. And it assumes so much. It assumes so much about the abilities of the child. I'm thinking about the children specifically in this case, but even of a spouse. I do not expect my husband to know what I want and need. He may be able to make some good guesses, and that's because he knows me well. But that doesn't mean that my thoughts and feelings on a matter aren't going to change. It doesn't mean that he's going to get it right every time. There are so many subtleties about trying to communicate with another human being that this kind of an expectation is just frankly scary to me. To recognize that one of the things they were directly taught in the IBLP is to obey the spoken and unspoken wishes of their authority figure. There's so much room for that to be misused and to abuse the people who are under that authority with that kind of an expectation. It's also very codependent. A codependent person spends a lot of time working on problems that don't belong to them. And that's what this encourages, this kind of a policy encourages. It encourages kids and adults who are under authority, so the wives essentially, it encourages them to work really hard to understand the person in authority at the expense of that person not doing any of the work of communication themselves. And I grew up in a household where that was something that was really common. There were so many things I was expected to know, and looking back as a kid and now having kids of my own and seeing what kids actually do know and what's realistic, kids come into the world knowing zero. They basically have instinct, natural instinct that's in there, and that's pretty much all they actually know. And so to expect that a child would be able to understand what an adult wants is just frankly ridiculous. And yet, this is exactly what's expected, and then kids get punished when they don't get it right. Instead of it being the adult didn't communicate this clearly enough to the child, there's this thought of, the child wasn't trying hard enough. It just opens up such a huge can of worms for abuse victims and for grooming, because you're supposed to somehow magically know what the other person wants without them ever having to express it.